litigation out there, and that is quite the unknown. We thought we had we would have an agreement last year, and it's still in negotiation with this litigation, which could run us anywhere, high numbers. It's a lot of money. So because we don't know that, because we don't know about the statewide transportation, it does say in there, I don't know where, it did say in the memo from the commissioner that they would make districts whole, but for how many years? And we're having that discussion right now, and we're in negotiation right now about what that number is, and are they going to make us whole, which we don't have any confirmation of that. And we're at least $100,000 to $120,000 negative right now if they don't make us whole, which we're in negotiations with them currently. With the state aid, the fact that the last couple of years they say that we didn't really cut your state aid, but we're going to put this money here, but that money has strings to it. So not only are they going to cut our aid by half, they haven't said if they're going to cut our general aid, which is our, how we can spend it any way we want to, or are they going to cut the state aid that we can spend this way and this way. So it's going to make a big difference as to what we now have to put in our budgets going forward, and we have to stay within that cap of the whatever the 4% is. So I'm kind of, in some year when things do settle down, I would like to get to a point, if things settle down, we could talk more about it with our professional, our auditor. But there's just so many variables right now. Negotiating with teachers, the BEP, it's just a lot right now.
I agree, and go ahead, Julie. No, just to finish, as you had said, there's so many variables now, and when things slow down, there is no certainty that they will ever slow down. I think we have a tremendous number of variables now. We will probably always have that number, and maybe even more variables. And so throwing a dart at an arbitrary number that could potentially limit the school department's ability to accomplish its mission seems ill-advised. So I guess I have a question. When are the opportunities that the school department is able to, if they deem it appropriate and acceptable, when are the different opportunities that the school department can return money to the town? Yeah. Is it just as a budget is formulated for the following year, or is it at any time? We could take a vote
I think it's at any time. I think it's at any time. 2 years ago it was at the request of the town. They asked us to think about it. They asked us to, consider an amount to give back that particular year. And I'm sure we've always worked with the town, and we will continue to do so. And I know they're in the process of formulating their budget right now, and I'm not really sure where they're at.
Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, he'll give us, probably by email, his proposed budget. And then, of course, we have meetings.
Right.
So whether we formalize the practice of every quarter, every 4 months, whatever the frequency is, of just discussing it, evaluating what do we know, what do we not know, what do we see on the horizon, what do we suspect might be over the horizon. Maybe that's a more sensible, flexible way of evaluating, because I fully agree, there's no reason to take it to an extreme. I'm sorry, I have a 10-year-old home alone. There's no reason to take it to an extreme to allow this unreserved fund to grow, to $10 million, 50 to a great extreme. So
not that it's anywhere near that.
Not that it is anywhere near that. But again, to take it to an extreme, at what point do you start making decisions without, again, hamstringing? So if we want to formalize it in terms of a policy, do we create a policy for the school committee that on a 3-month basis, on a 6-month, semi-annual, whatever you think is a reasonable term, to evaluate that and say, maybe this is the time to return money to the town. Maybe this is the time to.
I have a question. The unreserved funds for the town are set by standards of bonding. Right. So we basically, that's where we get our number. basically between 12 and 15%, puts us in the top category of being able to borrow money. Whereas yours really has no guide that way, but rather it's just an arbitrary figure? Is that,
Right.
It is, okay. No, I mean,
This
if
is what
something...
we asked the auditor.
Right.
Yeah.
When we discussed this last
Oh,
time.
okay. Yeah, something tells me in my head that there's got to be, it seems like mathematically, that past practices and future possibilities could be calculated in a probability of if all these things did happen, then you would need 8%. And if all these things didn't happen, you'd need 2%, or, you know what I mean? There should be a way of doing that.
What I'd like to propose is that I sit down with Jane sometime and that we look at that. The thing that I think what I'm objecting to here, any objection that I have about this has to do with the kind of, we just have to hold on to it. I mean, I understand, now hold on, that's my impression, whether that's what's happening or not. But what happens is I'd like to have some firm numbers, and maybe I'm all wet in even proposing that we reduce this unreserved fund. I hear what you're saying, Julian, and I think that's a way to go. I just want to keep the discussion going. And it's not that, you know, if we hit a tipping point of so much money, do we discuss it then? I think we just need to discuss it.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring some numbers back, you know, of those things that have come up in the past, you know, maybe over the past couple of years, those contingencies that did occur. Now, we can't guess the future, and the future is bleak, and I'll paint it as bleak as possible.
List our potential liabilities.
Yeah, we can.
There you go. But just to give us a better number to work with, or better numbers to work with.
I have very little faith in the numbers that you're going to be able to come up with to work with, because I see this money as possibly, in its best possible use, allowing us to ride out the storm if there is in fact going to be an end to the storm. And I think that given certainly the next 2 years, well, from what they're saying, with the deficits that they're looking at for the state, well beyond the next 2 years, there just isn't going to be money. And if we have money that's going to allow us to slow down having to deconstruct the system, then I think that that's a very valid reason to have it there. It's not, and it sounds when you say percentage-wise like we have this huge amount of money. In reality, it's not a huge amount of money.
I'm not going to tell anybody what a buck is worth, all right? I'm not saying it's huge, I'm saying if it's unnecessary.
Okay, there's where we disagree, because I feel
that's what I'm saying.
But I think a compromise
try to do
solution and a
define
reasonable proposal would be to have it on a regular basis, semi-annual, perhaps, as an agenda item to look at it and look at what's going on in the world at that time, and because nobody disagrees with you in spirit.
No.
Nobody. That this is that we have always wanted to partner with a town, and we have always been willing to give back when we can. But
I personally, and as a taxpayer myself, and as a member of this committee, I am going to look into some numbers to simply present. That's all.
I guess I would just look at it, one way or another, you're going to err.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to err, I guess I look at it as, will you err in the favor of accomplishing your mission as a school department, which I feel very strongly is
I will err
the direction to err. Or do you err in terms of returning to the town as much as you possibly can?
I am going to err on the side of the education of children.
I would have to.
okay,
Because you will err.
I know.
You won.
I got you.
Me.
I've erred most of my life. So.
I'm with you.
let's take a look at the last agenda item.
Health and wellness.
No, we skipped health and
Oh,
wellness
yeah.
membership, which is only an issue because we assigned our newcomer to health and wellness, who then learned that she was the chair.
Yeah, which I never knew when I was doing it.
Which is correct by state law. She is the chair. Now, my memory is that when we first, when this law was passed, or regulation, that Jim Filkins was the quote-unquote chair, but really he was a co-chair